Hey, I'm Daniel Berger, and this is Adventures of a Real Estate Broker. Welcome to the podcast where Metro New York real estate meets great stories and a douse of humor. Forget the dry sales talk. Here we dive into the fun and unexpected moments of real estate. Join me each week as we explore Westchester, Long Island, the Bronx, and more. You'll hear about the people, the places, and the crazy situations that make this industry so interesting. Thanks to our sponsor, Remax Prestige Properties, we're ready to share the lighter side of real estate. Whether you're a pro, a buyer, or just curious, we've got something for everyone. Ready for today's adventure? Let's get into it. Welcome to another episode of the Adventures of a Real Estate Broker with Daniel Berger. Today we have I'm excited to have Mitch Ribak on. His motto is a little bit a life beyond business, which is funny because he's founded over 23 companies in the past 42 years. Some of the companies that he's founded is a very early online dating service, and also I think the country's third paintball business. So that is very eclectic to go from dating to paintball, except if that's where you meet your future romances. So his latest book is The Big Lie. He's a real estate visionary. He's a team leader and he's a coach. There's so much more to Mitch, but that's certainly one way to start. And with that, Mitch, I want to thank you for coming on the show this week.
Sure. Thanks for having me. I'm very excited about this stuff. I love doing these things. It's so much fun.
So, they're fun for me too. People are like, why are you doing a podcast? And how many people are listening to it? I'm like, I don't know. But I do know with social media that if I post something and then we tag people and other people are going to look at it and it kind of just builds and builds and builds. But that's one reason why I do it. And I do also, I really enjoy the conversations that I get to have with people to learn about their business, to challenge them, to challenge myself. Because right, that's like every day meeting new people and learning is what it's all about.
Sure.
So, so I heard you built one thing that's insane is that you went from 6 agents to 120 agents at one point, and I guess now in your down network, I guess you're kind of I don't know if you're responsible for 1,800, but you're certainly having people flock to you. So tell us a little bit about what makes Mitch tick.
I'm an entrepreneur. Like I said, actually, it's 27 businesses now, not 23, but I currently own four. So I just I like startups. Startups are so fun to me. I love helping people grow their businesses, the ones that want to actually do the work. And as a broker, you understand that more than most people. And yeah, I get a thrill out of it. I mean, I'm 64 years old and I feel like I'm 25 still. I look like I'm 35. If I had hair, I'd look like I was 25. But um, to me, running businesses is fun. And I've always been, I don't have a lot of talent. I don't think I have one really good talent, which is I'm able to look at things a little bit differently. So when I had a regular dating search and the AOL discs came out, I said, wow, wouldn't it be cool if people could actually do this from their home instead of coming to my office? And lo and behold, I became the first online dating service. And then I didn't have enough money because back then you couldn't market it properly without gazillions of dollars. So I ended up private labeling it for the radio and TV industry and got 6 million people a month coming to our websites. I mean, it was crazy. Same thing with paintball. I went to a little paintball field. It was like 10 on 10. I said, well, what if we did this like 75 on 75? And next thing you know, I'm making $1 million a year running around the woods shooting people with paintballs.
Right.
Real estate, no different. When I got in the real estate business, it was really interesting to me. I'm known as the godfather of internet lead conversion. So all your lead conversion processes out there are all based on the stuff I developed. Um, and it was funny. I was sitting there and I was going on real estate websites to see what they do, and there wasn't that many. This is 2001, but I noticed nobody made you register. And I'm like, why does nobody make you register? That's silly. So it was really hard to find a real estate website company that allowed you to make people register. Because I don't do any marketing without lead capture because that's just common sense, right? And so I remember having
Zillow must have should thank you for
yes, they owe me a few
for
bucks. Yeah, I want one
for
of their
make
billion.
for making it known that when you go onto the sites, if you're going to search and you want someone to contact you, you need to provide your valid information so that you can get paid for forwarding a lead.
Exactly. Well, I used to get people, realtors would call me up and say, because nobody else was doing it, literally nowhere. Um, I can't believe you make people register. I'm like, well, I can't believe you don't. And they said, well, what about the people who get mad at you? I go, 15% register. They're like, well, what about the other 85%? I'm like, what about them? I care about the 15% that are registering. But anyways, it became a whole nother business. Created one of my books came from that, and I've helped a lot of people, hundreds if not thousands of people, become really successful in the internet space in real estate over the years. And I don't teach it that much anymore because honestly, after 20 years of teaching, it's boring. I don't enjoy it
That's
anymore.
only boring for you. So,
Yeah.
so I do have some questions about, lead generation is, obviously leads are important. There's so many companies out there, and there are a lot of them that are not so good, right? And there are a lot of flawed in the way that business is today. You can basically have the computer and access to the internet and call yourself a lead generator, right? Because you can do things to try to pull in buyers and then sell, and then hopefully that those turn into something. Either you pay at the close, or pay up front. So talk to me about that being dubbed the godfather of lead conversion, because it's not lead generation, right? So lead generation, while is important, is less important than converting. Converting means taking that lead and then turning it into money. So talk to me
Yeah.
about, like, what are some of your strategies for that?
Sure. Well, I'll give you some numbers first. So we would generate in our peak, we were converting registration leads. That's what I'm talking about this moment. Raw registration leads on your website. We were converting at 6%. The average is less than 1%. And the challenge with most realtors, if they're doing internet lead generation, they don't have the right processes in place to convert. So there's a couple of little basic things. First of all, if you are not going to pick up the phone and call your leads, right? Number one thing is a broker we yell at people for, right? Um, then you need to have an inside sales department. I was the first person doing inside sales for lead conversion back when we started that in 2006. And I realized really quickly, I started my brokerage in '05. I realized really quickly that my agents were not going to call these leads. And if they called once, but we tracked it, and only 40%, 42% of all our leads never even got called. So I brought on an assistant for one of my agents and said, hey, I'm thinking about doing this thing, call center for leads. And she started doing it for me, and we started like doubling our conversion rates. The other thing is, why do people come to your website? They only come for one reason, that's to look at listings. So why would you not set them up so they're getting listings? So we immediately, again, this is my process in 2000, in January 2002, when I started my website. I was like, why are people coming to my site? They're coming to look at listings. So I know they didn't really ask for listings, but I'm just going to give them listings. So I set every single person up in a listing update system, which, by the way, at that time was brand new technology for the MLSs, right? It was the first MLS that came out with it that we were using, called Aris, I think. And and then and then so I started getting these people responding to my emails. Hey, thanks for sending the listings over. They didn't know it was automated. They're like, wow, I can't believe how much work you do sending us all these listings. Of course, now everybody knows it's automated, but back in 2002, 23 years ago, nobody knew that.
Well, it's funny that everyone knows that it's automated, but not every agent spends the time to put in the proper lead search for everyone that comes in.
Right.
So that is,
Yeah.
some of what you do, you need to use your brain a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, minor detail. Um, and um, and so then I realized that most people weren't getting enough listings updates because, well, and it goes back to this, and I knew this from day one. My first day as a realtor, I sat down and wrote my business plan, and I said, why are people going to use me as a realtor? And I'll ask you, Daniel, why do you think people use you as a realtor?
Well, that's a great question. This is like my eighth or ninth year in the business. So how does an old white guy with gray hair um, get into the business where people are going to want to use me when there are people that have been doing it longer than me? So I had to come up with I'm a little different because, like, I don't my business plan is like on the back of a napkin. I don't really do planning or budgeting. Um, but I continue to grow every single year, and I did personally, I did $42 million in sales last year on 65 deals. So, and that's from 0 to 9 years. But I guess I make so it's funny because it's a little bit the opposite of you. Part of besides you're the godfather of lead conversion, you're also really your book is about a little bit like the work-life balance. And I'm probably my work-life balance is different than other people's because I put together a deal at 11:30 last night. At 11:30, I was on the phone with the lender and also the listing agent for a very creative deal that used mattress money and some other things to get everyone on board to do it. So, but my work-life balance is also I'm a little older. I'm an empty nester. I just have my wife and my dogs, and so I don't mind working at 11 so that if I want to, like during golf season, I can golf or whatever, which I'm probably still texting or whatever. But so work life means different things to different people. But I guess the reason why people use me is because I always make myself available and they always feel that I'm intuitive to their questions and concerns and I give them good information.
So the real reason I love, by the way, your answer is pretty similar to most answers that I get when I ask this question. And I'll do this in front of 1,000 people when I'm speaking in public, and nobody gets it right. There's only really one reason why they use you is because you happen to be in front of them when they're thinking about buying or selling. That's the main, like they can't know all
Well,
that
and then
other.
I agree with that, right? And constantly invest, right? Because if I dropped off the face because I don't reply to them, then they're going to be in front of somebody else. I agree.
Right. Yeah.
So that's a part
So
of
that
what
was
it.
the concept of everything that I
Yes,
developed was I sat down there from day one. I didn't know anybody here, so I didn't have a database. I didn't have anything. I knew my girlfriend, who's now my wife, and her mom, and my girlfriend lived with me, so she wasn't buying anything. And so I said, well, and this is before I did the internet stuff because I wanted to learn a little bit about real estate before I invested my few dollars I had left from losing $82 million in 2000, and was really broke when I got into real estate, which is why we get into real estate. We're really broke, right? Uh, and but I said to myself, well, everybody told me not to do open houses. Like that was the first thing I learned. I walked in the door, they said, don't do open houses. I'm like, well, people are coming to me. Why would I not do open houses?
that's
So I
called
remember
lead generation, and then you're going to convert that.
because I know this. Here's the life cycle of every product in the world: capture leads, nurture leads, close the lead, and then create a customer for life. Every product in the world. I don't care what you sell. Every product. So, and I know that because I've owned a lot of companies, and that's how I knew from day one. So I knew I had to generate leads, and I said, well, open houses are coming to people that are coming to me. I just have to master that system. I sold my first house in 5 days, which, by the way, was 3 days after 9/11. I started in September 10th, 2001. My next day was 9/11. But I was driving to the open house on that Saturday. I have no training at all. My broker told me when she hired me, I don't do train agents, figure it out yourself. And I'm like, all right, I'll figure it out. And I go, well, I've seen realtors on TV and I bought 7 homes and every realtor I had was terrible. So I won't do what they did and I'll just be fun. And I sold my first house that day, 5 days in. And I sold my first year 36 homes, 28 were from open houses. So I
Yeah.
just I look at things differently. So I was able to look like I'll give you an example on open house, which is by the way still today the best free lead generation business out there. Um, People walk in the door, the first thing people say, "Hey, you working with a realtor?" And almost everybody says yes. So I realized that within a month or so, I'm like, well, I got to change the words. And so people walk in and say, "Hey, so which realtor in town are you working with?" All of a
They
sudden,
can't, and then they can't name the person, or they don't want to name. See, the other thing is, why would you even ask that? Don't ask the question. They come to see your house. You're showing the house because. So I started my business the same way from Zillow. I would buy Zillow leads. I would nurture. I probably did 25 the first year, but guess what? Buyers become sellers, and and then by my third year, I had 26 listings and 26 purchases because it's an ebb and flow and it circulates. So I would do a lot of open houses. And again, from open houses, I would have people call me 10 months later, a year later. They're like, you know what? You were at the open house. I don't even write down people's names at open houses. I personally don't do that because I want people to, they're going to take my card or there's going to be information. And I do get people that call me back that said, you know what, I liked how you presented that open house. You weren't pushy, you want whatever. Now we're ready. We want to use you. So I will say though that as independent contractors, as a broker, I don't really yell at people if they don't convert. If they're my leads, I'm like, listen, I'm going to be handing out leads to the people that have better conversion rates and follow up. So if you want to do that, you can get more leads. If not, you're going to get less leads. But open houses are amazing.
Gold. Yeah, and I'm a systems guy, so I had a system for everything. So I learned I never advertise open houses. I literally put out 30 signs because I learned if I advertise them, I can't leave. So I would really quickly, I'll give you the gist of it. So I asked that question at the beginning, which you're working with 90% instead of saying yes, now didn't have a realtor. That was easy. So I eliminated that. I would always pick two homes in the area within a mile that were vacant and for sale. I get permission from the listing agent to show them all day long whenever I want. If somebody was there, I told them I would just wait. And so, say you were at my listing, they'll do the open house at. So what do you think of the property? And it's always the same answer. Oh, it's nice. I goes, is this the property? Would you like to make an offer on it? Oh no. I goes, is this the price range? Yeah, yeah. I go, I do have two more homes around the corner that are for sale. If you want to go take a quick look, we can go take a quick look. And 80% say yes. So I put a little be back in 30 minutes sign on my door. And now I have them in my car for the next half hour. Right. So I take them to the house and I don't talk about real estate at all. It's all about building a relationship at that point. And then by the time we're on at the end of the second house, I know if they're pre-approved and ready to buy now. And if they're not, I'm going back to my open house. But if they are pre-approved and ready to buy now, I'm going to say to them something to the effect of, Daniel, you guys seem like such good people. I really am not in the mood to finish my open house today. You guys want to go look at more property? And that's what I did. And
So
I never
would you
sold less
have
than
it?
24 homes.
Would you have a coworker at the open house? You can't just leave an open house. So what
Yeah.
would you do for that?
I just put a little be back in 30 minutes sign and come back. No, never a problem. Never an issue.
Wow.
Yeah.
The only thing would be the people who are your listing might not like that someone comes. So that would be the only thing I
Well,
see in.
well, so I only did vacant houses.
Okay, right,
Yeah, I would not do a house. No, I would not because I'm going to leave. So, and if I'm doing somebody else's listing, which is what I did back then because I didn't have any listings, is I would tell the listing agent, so look, I'm going to do a couple hours because that was your typical thing, but I might stay for six. So I would wait. I would work for 6 hours. I would do 10 to 4.
because you also didn't advertise that you had signs out. So that's a little different, right?
Yeah. So that was why I didn't advertise because if I advertised, I'm stuck there. But the
Right.
reason why that came about is I still remember to this day, this guy came in, good looking younger guy, younger meaning 30, and black hair and just nice guy. And it was like 10:15. I had just opened. I said, well, I get out at 40 if you want to look at property later. He's like, oh, that'd be great. And of course, he never showed up and he never responded to my phone call after that. And that's what I was like, I need to be able to leave when I get a hot person.
Right.
So,
That's, you know what I like about it is that's being creative and you're working in the environment that you have. And so certainly if you're doing that, it would be so as the broker, I also don't try to all of my open houses, I generally offer it up to my clients, to my agents, because I feel just like you, this is a great way of getting leads for the only cost is their time. And I have people now that I have one of my agents, she's great at it. She's done millions and millions of dollars of GCI from just my things. And then it turns into, oh, you get a listing and you get this. And I just got into contract with one of my newer agents. He's the buyer's agent for two of my listings, right? And so I basically sent out a message to the team. And so now by doing that, I don't push people to do stuff, but this week's open houses were a lot easier because I had my agents contact me. Can I do that one? Can I do this one? Because they see and I go, but you do have to work them. That in our business, you're not handed anything. You have to put in the time and the effort to follow through and to add value, of course.
I mean, the key to this business. So when I always say, so there's two questions I ask audiences when I'm speaking. I ask them, what business? Well, first of all, why would they use you as a realtor? I love that one because no one gets it. And then I always say, what business are we in? And nobody gets it. Everybody says, I'm in the people business. I'm in the relationship. No, you're in the lead generation business. First, you can't be a good person or help somebody if you're not in the lead generation business. And that could be open houses. One of my favorites, I have an agent in San Diego. He does 30 transactions a year. This is the most brilliant thing I've ever. If I was selling real estate, I would do this today. He sits in Starbucks from 8 to 11 Monday through Friday. On the back of his laptop, it says real estate question, ask me. 30 transactions a year in San Diego. He's making a fortune, right? In San
Right.
Diego. And the beauty of that is you get to pick now your price point. So people always say, how do I increase my price point? Well, I'll give you our county here. I'm in Brevard County, Florida, Merritt Island, Melbourne, Cocoa Beach area, and Space Center. Rockets in my backyard, very cool. And we have a lot of different price points here. We have areas like Cocoa, the price in Titusville, price points are around 300 grand. We have areas like where I live, price points between 6 and a million, and we have other areas that are 1 to 3 million. And if I'm going to do what I just said, I would do at a Starbucks in the $1 to $3 million area. So you get to
Yeah.
choose your price point. So there's a million ways of being successful in this business. The challenge, I think, with most people, work ethic is out the door. And I hate to say that, but it's just the reality. I mean, I've trained thousands and thousands of agents. We went through 500 agents at my brokerage to get 50 good ones.
That's I actually think that's a fairly, it's not horrible. That's
Wasn't
actually
bad.
doing a
No, it
good
wasn't bad.
job,
It
I
wasn't
think.
bad. No, getting rid of my brokerage was probably my favorite thing I've ever done in my life, besides my paintball business. Uh, um, and but you have to be a business. If you're getting up every day and you're trying to figure out what you're supposed to be doing today, you're not running a business. You should live, what am I doing today? And 80% of your time should be revenue generating things. If you don't have anything going on today, you should be sitting in a vacant house, in working out of a vacant house with signs outside with an open house every day.
I wish I had nothing to do each day. Um, I don't, so I run my business a little different. We probably have, I do, if we did, I did 42 million. The team does about 75 million last year. I do have some part-time people, so you have to, there's probably 4 or 5 full-timers, and then there's probably 5 to 7, part-timers. But as the broker, I'm, I actually bought my franchise because I didn't like being in a corporate setting where I had to do things. This is the way we do it. Corporate says this. I want to be able to make the rules that make sense. So that's kind of why I did it. And then my mentoring. And so everyone's kind of, we have one team, right? It's the brokerage is the team. And it's really a lot. Half of my job is me selling, and then the other half is mentoring other people. So I wish that there was a day that I'm like, I have nothing to do. And for 8 years, I don't have that. So, there's always mentoring that can go on, and picking up in real estate, I think, is one job where when you pick up the phone, you're like, I don't know what's going to happen, right? Like things happen, and you have to be quick on your feet and be proactive to ensure that that you're making sense. So like an example, the other day, I have a client he just turned 94. He they're trying to foreclose on his property. He's been living in a hotel for 3 years. That's a whole other story. But on his property, they're trying to foreclose on him. And I actually paid down some of the debt to delay his foreclosure because now we're in contract and we're going to sell it. I was like, I'm busy, but my title guy's like, I don't feel good about this. Just go to the courthouse. I go to the courthouse the other day, and they're like about to start the foreclosure proceedings, and I have like I'm his power of attorney. I have the stipulation that says it's supposed to be delayed, and I'm like fighting with the referee and they tried to kick me out of the courthouse. So there's all this going on. So I just that Thursday, it wasn't even in my plan. In the morning, I'm like, someone's like, we don't have a good feeling. So the next 2 weeks is now like has things of how do we save this? How do we save this from not being foreclosed? So you just have to keep yourself involved with different activities. The good news about that is that I meet people along the way. And those people, like you said, are my lead generations, right? Because I have a good interaction with this person, that person, this person. And then when people are like, oh, I have real estate needs, who are they going to think of? Well, the person that's in front of them, exactly what you said, Mitch.
Yeah, it is simple. It's interesting, and you said a really important word that I want people to understand because I think it's really important. And you and I are very similar in a lot of ways, except I have a better hairline on my back. But reactive versus proactive. Most realtors are reactive. They run a reactive business, so they're waiting for stuff to happen. Proactive realtors like yourself, like myself, are successful because you're proactive. You're making things happen. I always say if you could, actually, this is a really good exercise. Do you have an iPhone?
I do have an iPhone.
Okay, open it up for a second. We're going to play a little game for
Okay.
your audience.
Okay.
Go to your contacts.
Okay. I'm
I-
there.
I- In the top, there's a button at the top says list, right?
Yep.
How many you have in your contacts?
4,085.
I got to do the math. Okay, I get it. So that's about 280 sales sitting in your phone, right? So the question is, are you going to be in front of them? They're going to buy 280 people in your phone are going to buy or sell a home this year, right? That's the stat. That's an NAR stat, 7%. Right? It's actually 11%, but I like to under promise, right? And so 280 people are going to use that. But will they use you or will they use somebody else? So here's a scenario that happens every single day in our business. So Daniel, you sold a house to Tom 5 years ago. You were the best realtor he's ever had in his life. He's bought 10 homes, right? And then I'm at the bar hanging out. Actually, let's go do it. Where do you live? What city are you in?
I live in Rybrook, New York.
New York. Okay, so I figure you're in New York. You sound like a New York. So you're a Red Sox fan, right? And so we'll use Publix. So Publix is our grocery store down here. So when we name that guy Bill, whatever his name is, Tom. So Tom's in line at the grocery store, and I'm in behind him. And this is what I do. I've sold 3 dozen homes at the grocery store, doing this exact thing. And so if you're in front of me, I always pick the longest line because I want to talk to somebody. I can't generate a lead if I'm not talking to anybody. So I go to the person, hey, how's your day going today? It's always the same conversation. It's okay. It's going good. It's going great. Once in a while, you go, it's terrible, and that's the end of the conversation because I don't talk to negative people. And he goes, that's going great. And they always say 100% of the time, how's your day going? Oh, yeah, I'm in the real estate business. Kind of crazy right now. And this is 100% of the time. Oh, you're in the real estate business. How's the market? Every time, right? Every time. And so then I say, a little interesting right now. It is interesting right now here in Florida. So I'd say, one of the things I do with my friends locally is I send them an update on the market every month. Would you like me to add you to the list? About 75, 80% say yes. And that's how I generated leads, not that and open houses. That was how I built my business. That's why I sold 80 homes a year, internet and people I met at the grocery store or whatever line I was in. So the same thing with your phone. I teach a class now called How to Make $100,000 a year working 4 hours a day. And again, 100,000 depending where you live, right? Here it's 100 grand. California it'd be 400 grand. But it's taking that list from your phone, getting all the email addresses from those people, right? Which is a project, and then doing a twice a month email campaign to them. So you're in front of them whenever they're thinking about buying or selling. But you're also asking for the business. We end each email with, as you know, as a realtor, I work by referral only, and I could really, really use your help. If you know someone looking to buy or sell a home, could you send me their contact info? And so I just did this recently with one of my agents, a newer agent. She had about 400 people on her phone. In her first 4 months in the business, she got 6 listings and 4 buyers from that.
Yeah. It's you know what you have to put it's certainly easier to at least reach out to the people that know or you have in your phone, right? You know of, so that you know, and a lot of times it's like, oh, a relative passed. We got to sell it, and the other thing what I think which is really important to let people know is that when you're a real estate agent is that you can help anyone buy and sell anywhere in the world, right? Because obviously through the internet, I can go research who's a good agent. Either people that I've worked with, so you can find
Right.
good people and you get a referral fee from that.
Yep.
I have an interesting story that my wife's sitting on the train going into New York City. She overhears someone talking about that they need a real estate agent, and then she starts asking questions, and she finds out that it's the town she grew up in. And they're like, "We need the best real estate agent in that town." So it's on Long Island. I'm in Westchester, and so I grew up on Long Island, but I'm not the best real estate agent on Long, but she knows one because one of her friends' mother is a top agent in that town. We started the dialogue. She passed it along. It was a 25% referral. My wife earned $10,000 from sitting on the train and being a busybody, right? And
Pretty
so
simple.
God bless her. I'm
Yep.
like, here's your check, and so, but like, so if people don't know that they can use you to help you, right? That person on the train had a dilemma. They didn't know what to do. They had people, but they wanted the best. And it turned out that actually that the person that we did sold houses of their friends, so it really it worked out. But if you, like you said, you need to ask for the business, or at least you need to let people know what business you're in, how you're able to help them, and you're going to treat them like a VIP. I think that's super, super important.
Yeah. Yeah, and going back on referrals. So if I had to do my life over, if I had to start 24 years ago again, I would never have sold one house. I would have strictly just done referrals. And so one of the things I used to do when I first started, again, I didn't know anything. I got no training. So everything, the beauty of me not getting any training is I had to build all this stuff myself, which was kind of fun. And so I created a list of 40 people that I was friendly with or friends with in Boston, because that's where I'm from. I still pack my car. And I would call them once a quarter, and this was my messaging to them. One of the things about being in real estate I've learned is that not all realtors are created equal, and picking the wrong realtor could cost you tens of thousands of dollars. So one of the things I do for my friends and their family now is I interview realtors to find you the best realtor to make sure you don't lose any money. So if you know someone looking to buy or sell a home, let me know and I'll take care of them. I always get 10 to 15 referrals a year from that messaging. I do it once a quarter.
That's awesome. And
So going back to your phone, out of your 4,000 contacts, you probably have 1,000, I'm going to make up a number, that are not in your area that you would work. So that 1,000, that would be the messaging you send to those 1,000 on an email. We didn't have email platforms like MailChimp and Constant Contact in 2001, 2002. So now you would just do that as an email thing to the masses. And again, creating it's I think the challenge is, and it's not, I don't mean this offense to anybody, there's not too many people in the world that woke up that grew up going, I can't wait till I'm 18 and become a realtor, right? They were a teacher, they were a bartender, they had another job. It was a job, not a business. And then they came into real estate, not running it like a business, but more running it like a job. And a job, the difference between a job and a business, the job is you walk in the door, you take this piece of paper, you move it over here. You take this piece of paper, you move it over here. When you come into a business like a real estate business, first of all, very few people will give you the real secret, right? Like most brokers, and no offense to any brokers out there, because I was one for many years, is don't want to teach you how to be really, really, really good. We want you to be good, but not really, really good, because then you're going to leave, right? And that's not saying that's you, Daniel, and it wasn't me, by the way, but I know brokers that are like that. I don't want to tell them everything, and then they'll leave. Because that's the hardest part of being a broker, right? You bring them up to here, and they say, "Hey, you're the best mentor I ever had." By so to me, the problem for most realtors is they come in, and by the way, most brokers are not business people either. Most brokers are realtors that wanted to leverage better, right?
well, maybe if they're a broker of an independent, right, they're running a business. But if they're just a broker of a national, they're just an office. They're just a manager.
Right. Yeah, but even brokers of independence. I met with a broker who's joining me at EXP. I met last week. She has 6 agents, and when she met with me before, she was getting ready to join. She goes, "No, I really got to open my brokerage." I'm like, "You got to do what you got to do. Go for it." I go, "I've been there. It's not the funnest thing in the world. There's more fun things to do than open a brokerage." And so she called me last week. She, "Can we have lunch?" And she goes, "All right." She goes, "You're right. I should have listened to you. It's not very fun. Her production is down about 75% now because she's babysitting her 5 agents. They're all newer agents, and she's babysitting them. So,
I gotta coach her because my business is up, but it's also because I invest the time in. But yeah,
her
that's
business.
it's important.
But most brokers are not business people, so they're not teaching their realtors how to be business people. So what I teach, but the reason why I wrote my book, The Big Lie, is not only I teach people how to sell 50 to 80 homes a year or more, but I teach them how to do that in 30 hours a week. Because ultimately, when I turned 60, I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. I worked 100 hours a week until I was 60. And when I look back in my life, I can't tell you 5 things I did with my kids. And even losing $82 million in 2000 was really, really challenging. $82 million, I say thousand, $82 million in 2000 was challenging. Knowing that I did not see my kids grow up is heartbreaking, and you can't get that back. So I'm on a mission right now. That's again why I wrote the book, and I'm writing another one for entrepreneurs right now. Same concept. On You can work 30 hours a week and make as much money as you want to make. I've been doing it now for the last 4 years. I make a lot of money, and I work 4 hours. I work 30 hours a week max. And what I do is I actually work 60 hours, but I fit it into a 30-hour window. And I do that because I'm really, really good at time blocking. I'm really good at saying no to people, and I'm really, really good at only doing revenue generating activities.
It is harder when you're a broker because I have a lot of things that are, part of it, I have to make sure that people are in compliance and that so that's not necessarily revenue generating, except that if I have to pay a fine or they have to pay a fine. So that would be, but one thing
Well,
that's interesting.
the challenge, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but the challenge for that is, so running a business is about, if you can't leave your business for a month and it still runs, then you don't really have a business. You kind of have you copy own. Like I own 23 crappy jobs before I own businesses. Like I have 4 businesses right now. I don't run any of them. I manage my partners
Right.
or my employees, and that allows me the freedom. If I want to go to Italy for a month, which we're doing in June, actually Italy, France, and Spain, I go. And if I need something, I hop on a phone call or I hop on a Zoom call. But I don't work. I mean, I'll put very little time in. But when I'm working, like if you looked at my calendar right now, you would see 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock. I do 45-minute meetings generally, and then I have 5 minutes to look at my email, my text, and phone calls, and 5 minutes to play my guitar. Because I always play my guitar before my next meeting, as you saw when we got on that call.
I did see that.
Yeah. And so that's truly my business. And it took me, and this is again why I wrote this book and I wrote the other one. It took me 40 years of being self-employed to figure that out. Nobody taught me. All my mentors who I had when I was growing up, I was very blessed. I had 5 mentors, my dad and 4 others. And they all said, work really, really hard. If you work 80, 100 hours a week, you'll be successful. They were right, but they didn't tell me I was going to miss my life.
Yeah. So, for me, getting into real estate as kind of like my third or fourth act, and being older as an empty nester was certainly easier. Um, the way that you said, maybe I'm not running a business and I'm just really just going from sale to sale, and I do stuff as a brokerage, but ultimately, I'm not a favor of scaling for the sake of scaling. Um,
Mhm.
and growing for the sake of growth, right? It's not how much money you earn, it's how much money you keep. So,
100%.
I'm very, while I'm not lean and mean or mean, yeah, I'm not lean and mean in person. My business kind of is, I have no employees, right? So everyone's an independent contractor agent. I have one person that's like my lead manager. So, so we're able to do that. But you're right. So, it's also, you have to be comfortable. If I did 65 deals last year, I don't need to do 90 next year.
Right,
I
sure. No,
65,
65 is
I can
that's a lot of
still,
deals. Yeah.
at 42 million in sales, it's still a comfortable living. So I don't need to grow. I don't need to get more people, but what I do need to do is to constantly be the best Danny that I can be, providing my that customer service so that when I am in front of people, and because I'm not trying to scale it so much, but what you said is right. I have to, someone that I dealt with 5 years ago and 8 years ago, I want them, if they're thinking about selling, that I'm the person. So I can do that, maybe social media. I can do it from texting them, from phone calls. I also do annual gift giving away, where I send different gifts to clients so that top of mind, and they're getting like this year I did a blanket, a Remax blanket, where everyone, when they people were getting them, they were taking pictures of their children and their pets
That's awesome.
inside the blanket, whatever, and that became like kind of a cool little thing. So, you can't be all things to all people,
Nope.
but you do, like with Mitch, but all the business that you've done, and so it's also different if you're going to create a business with the goal then of selling it to then get into the next thing. That certainly makes sense. But what would you say that in the way that the market's changing? Obviously, real estate's changed a lot. It always changes, but I think it's changed. It certainly has changed more in the last year and a half than it did the last 8 years. So what do you see as the future for real estate, and for, what's your advice for current agents that are out there?
So don't let the media in the negative realtors dictate your future. So there's a lot of people I know right now that are. I talked to an agent the other day, pretty successful agent here. He was crying on the phone, literally crying on the phone with me. He's like, he's not one of my agents. He's actually a Remax agent, and I was going to show one of his properties, and I'm showing one of his properties this weekend. And he's like, I don't know what to do. He goes, my listings aren't selling. I'm broke. I owe a lot of money to a lot of people, and I don't know what to do. And so what happens is if you buy into that, the market's falling, then the market's falling, right? If you buy into, all right, I'm going to be a little bit different, and I'll give you an example of this in a second, then I'm going to think about my business a little differently. So then I can adapt. And that's the key to successful businesses is adapt. So I'll give you an example. So the market crashed here in Brevard County in 2006. That's when we started. Our 2008 crash actually started here. We were the first county in the country to actually start seeing negative numbers. So I had just started my brokerage in 2005, in March of 2005. And we, in 2006, it's January, we had 100 listings and nothing had sold in like 4 months. And so, what happens when the listings aren't selling? The customers are yelling at the agent. What does the
Right.
agent do when the customers are yelling out? They don't answer the phone anymore. And so they call the broker and yell at me, right? Well, luckily I'm only 5'6", so I can deal with that. I'm a tough little guy. And so anyway, I called everybody in the office. This is January of '06, maybe February. And I said, look, we are no longer will be taking any listings moving forward. We're going to switch to a buyer's brokerage. And everybody I told this to that were brokers laughed at me. They're like, you're going to go out of business in no time. You have to list to exist. That's what we're told. You haven't been in the business long enough to feel the pain of that recession, right?
Right.
And so, meanwhile, half my friends went out of business, right? My broker friends, and I grew 20% a year because I made a shift. So right now we're back into a buyer's market, right? Listings are still selling if they're priced appropriately. But right now, I'd be saying, how do I get more buyers? Open houses are gold right now for two reasons. One, a lot of people don't want to sign the buyer brokerage agreement, right? So they're going, well, I'm just going to go to open house. So we're seeing a lot more people at our open houses than we've ever seen before because of that. And
Right.
so there's a lot more opportunity to open houses. But I would be shifting my mindset right now if I was out there selling. I'm not saying not to get listings, just don't overprice them. Like before, 2 years ago, you could overprice. It didn't matter. You're still going to get multiple offers, right? Now it's not like that, right? Inventories doubled or tripled or quadrupled. Our in May of 2021, we had 491 single family homes. We now have 4,000, right?
Right. That's huge. I think the other issue is I work with my clients on coming up with list prices, right? But I'm still in New York. It's still the market that we're pushing, pushing, pushing. It's still really a seller's market, so you can do that. It's also if there's an agent that has 0 to 3 listings, they could accommodate a higher price as opposed to someone that has 10 or 15 or 20 because it's too much, it's a lot of wasted time. So I think everyone has to run their business a little different. But I think the job of the agent is to find out what the needs of the seller are. Are they living there? Is it empty? Is it an estate sale? What's their horizon? Because some people just want to say, we just got to get out of it. And what's the
Right.
price that makes that happen? Other people are like, I just got into contract on the highest sale price in our town, up to now. And so everyone has a different strategy. So the idea is that my job is I work for my clients, and so I have to do what's best for them. But I do have to bring information, right? So listing for the sake of being a ridiculous price doesn't really help them, and it doesn't really help anybody. But there's always it's a discussion, and if you can, it's always isn't it always good to bring facts to a fair fight, not facts to a fiction fight. That doesn't work.
Right.
But
No.
if you're able to have facts, then and then you're adding value to your clients, saying what's going on, how to do stuff. This makes sense, and there's always tweaking, and they can go up or minus. Is not a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I had so I had a listing once. And this is what kind of said it was really at the beginning of my career, so it was great. It's one of my first listings, and I overpriced it by 20%, right? Because it was the market was getting decent, and I just figured I'd overprice it. And it was my list, it was my property. I owned the property. I bought the property, and we go, I'm gonna over. And this is such a rude awakening for me. I never overpriced a listing after this. I got a buyer, and I'm really good at converting sign calls. Like you call me, I'm going to have you as a customer. I mean, if you don't have a realtor, I'm going to have you as a customer. And I'm really good at it. And this guy calls me up, and I remember the price was 225,000. It was worth about 100 and maybe 200, but somewhere 175 to 200,000. And so I do my old spiel together and go, he goes, I would never use you as a realtor. I go, what do you mean? You don't even know me. He goes, well, if you don't know how to price a house to sell, why would I want you negotiating deals for me? You don't know what you're doing.
Hmm.
I never overpriced the house again.
Well, you know what? Some people would say would reverse that and say, um, if you're not getting a full commission, whatever that is, then if you can't sell me on a full commission, then why would I let you sell my house? Because you're just going to give my house away. So, you know, I also everyone's different, so there's no set commission for me
No,
ever.
yeah,
Um, I'm working on a $3.6 million house, and I took a half a commission because guess what? You don't take commission to the bank; you take dollars to the bank. And
right.
and part of why I got the listing was because people were like, why should I pay you $72,000 to sell my house? It's not that much harder because I had a lot of money and bought a bigger property and made it bigger. 36,000 is enough, right?
Yeah,
And I didn't disagree with that, right? And everyone has the right to do what you want to do. And I was like, you know
you,
what? That's a fair
your
point,
business, your
right?
business, run it the way you want.
It's your, and so that's why I'm a broker. So because I actually got it because a national company wouldn't let their agent take it for less than 2% on
Oh,
the
well,
buy side, on the sell side. There was a buy side commission too. And
yeah,
they were like, wouldn't do it. They said, no, we don't do that. And I was like, so actually someone referred me and said, why don't you talk to Danny? Danny's pretty, he's a smart guy and he's pretty negotiable. And and in the end of the day, it went into contract in 8 days, 8 days on the most expensive current property in our town. Right.
that's good.
And so, yeah, it's still not done and it's not easy, whatever. But like, I don't disagree. Why should I make $140,000 because your house happens to be on a double lot and you spent a lot of money on it? So yeah, yeah, there is truth to that. But again, you're being a business person, you got to do what makes sense for your business. Um, but so that's kind of interesting. So well,
Well,
that's
that was why I did what I did. When I got rid of my brokerage, I Remax and Century 21 both offered me 3.5 million for the company. And of course, if you haven't gone to sell anything yet, but when you go to sell your company, the terms are like ridiculous. You don't ever get what they offer you. Uh, you
Well,
know,
also, so my view is like really mine would be worth almost nothing because I'm the highest producer.
right,
And
right, right.
so if it's really, I can't really sell the annuity of me and there's no point of it, right? Like, you know,
Yeah.
so so
The
so I'm in a different situation. I'm not
Right.
trying to sell it because then what am I going to do, right? This actually is my path that I can do this for a bunch of years. And if people want to work with me, because not because I want people to do as well as they want. If someone feels that there's another place they can go better, I've
Okay.
had people leave. It's like I wish you the best. Always keep good relations because you never know in the business. That's
Right,
kind
right.
of my strategy. So,
I
well.
was I was I was not as nice at the beginning of my broker career, but after a couple of years, I go, wait, I'm being a schmuck. What am I doing? I go, these people think whatever they're doing, if they're leaving me, it's because hey, I didn't do something good, or because they think it's better for their family. How can I judge that? So people leave. I'm the same way. People leave me. People come and go all the time. It's just part of business. I don't care what business you're in. And it's like, oh, I hope everything's good. I'm always here to help. If you need any questions, I'm still here to help you.
Exactly. So, well, Mitch, I know that you time block and I want to be respectful of your time. I appreciate the call. Definitely a visionary. I love the idea of all those businesses that you founded. What do you say, 27 over 40 plus years. Um, and I love the idea of the dating service and the paintball. Those are two cool things
They're
that
my favorites. Yeah.
and people would have been like, "Oh, you're nuts! Like, why are you doing that?" But right, isn't that you're always supposed to do things? Warren Buffett's always like, you have to do the opposite. When it's fear, that's when you got to buy, and when everyone's thinking it's great, you got to sell and get out of it. And so, I'm sure you've done that over the years. And so, thank you again for being a coach to so many people because I know that people that are following your lead are going to be better people that I'm going to be able to work with out in the market because they're going to understand. We don't always get that, and
I appreciate it.
another thing that I really appreciate that you know in this world right now through social media, Facebook and Instagram, there's so many negative things about what's going on. Stop with the negativity. turn
Positivity.
that, turn the frown upside down, because in life you can always find the negative, but find the positive, because I also think that people want to be with more positive people. And how do you spin things and be productive and proactive? That's probably a good way to run your business. So, but thank you, Mitch, for your time. We
Thanks
appreciate
for
it.
having me.
For everyone, thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Adventures of a Real Estate Broker. Mitch Ribak. So if you want to, it's a life beyond business. It's important. And his latest book is The Big Lie. Check it out. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, man.
So, excellent.
Thanks for joining me on the Adventures of a Real Estate Broker. I hope you enjoyed our time together as much as I did. If you laughed, learned something, or just had a good time, do yourself a favor and subscribe to the podcast. A big shout out to our sponsor, Remax Prestige Properties, for making this all possible. Remember to leave a review if you enjoyed the show. It helps more people find us. Until next time, keep it real, keep it fun, and keep exploring the adventures in your neighborhood. I'm Daniel Berger, your New York Realtor, and I'll see you in the next episode.